Yo, what's going on everyone? And welcome back to the channel. My name is Wolf, and the day has finally come. Minecraft's Dragonfire hotfix finally dropped, and everything that was planned for the last update is reverted back to normal and fixed. In today's video, we're going to go over all of the new fixes, try and get into some of the back-end reasons with what's changed and why everything broke in the first place, and cover some of the new juicy features that were added. But before we go over all that, if you still are on the fence about adding these to your worlds, or if you have tried the light version and you're wondering if upgrading to the full version is worth it, I highly suggest checking out my first video on these add-ons. It covers everything you need to know about the add-on, including all of the armor and weapons, dragon locations, and all the tricks and tips needed when starting out. Card for that will be on the screen now. And if you find either of these videos helpful in any way, please do me a favor, smash that subscribe button, or drop a like. Special shout out to the near 3,700 of you who have already joined the Wolfpack. I appreciate every last one of you. All my socials can be found down below in the description, as well as timestamps for your viewing pleasure. Now let's get into the video. So, firstly, this past week, the game has almost been unplayable. This was caused by two things. The game was reading old player data and in turn was invalidating other add-on systems, making them unable to run. It was also reading all scoreboards, which meant also reading all other add-on scoreboards by default, which also overloaded the add-on systems, rendering the majority of the code useless. For those of you who are like me, who have no idea what that means, basically, loading into the game, the code was reading too much information and in turn missing important stuff, breaking the game. Dude, coding is so confusing. But with that fixed, now let's go over some of the major fixes from the update. First off, obviously, flying is now fixed. Now let me explain some of the things I've learned about how this so-called flying works. Because it's not actually flying at all. It's a careful manipulation of the levitation perk. And with some special math, the devs are able to trick the game into making you basically float and fall.
This isn't flying, this is falling with style.
Now before the update, this is why we were having issues with falling out of midair, or even trying to get off the ground in general. However, now the script has been rewritten, and the dragon handling classes run on properties instead of scores. Dragon Handler will only allow flight while saddled, and instead of looping through players to find entities within their target radius, it's now using Entity Handler and Player Handler classes to cache entities into a database as they spawn or get loaded into the world. Whatever that means. Basically, flying is fixed. Yay! Now, I've gotten a bunch of comments and messages over the last week telling me, hey, the Nightlight Dragon is super common. I found 3 in my world. I found 1 in my house. Guys, the spawn rates were fixed last week. They were changed from Lush Cave to just normal cave spawns. So they're just as common as the rest of the dragons. Sorry to burst your bubble. While still amazing looking, they are no longer rare. However, there is something even more rare now, but I'll get into that later in the video. Some other smaller fixes were that the Night Stalker has been fixed. It will now properly drop scales, as well as its pruning table will behave normally again, so now you guys can go get your Anubis armor no problem. Fixed a bug where the dragons hatched from parents would no longer be tameable. Fixed a bug where dragons could hurt themselves with their own projectiles, so no more AoE damage when you fire too close. And also fixed an issue where Dragonfire Core didn't allow the player to eat the dragon fruits. I don't know why you'd want to, but now you can. Speaking of dragon fruits, spawn rates for the dragon fruit traders was also fixed. Their coding is now corrected, and they spawn naturally in random villages as well as in the plains biome. They're pretty common. I was just flying around my world through some different villages and found not 1, not 2, but 6 different traders just chilling. So if you're still having issues finding these guys, I don't know how to help you. But with the update to the dragon fruit traders fixed, as well as the textures fixed, which from the last update was broken, I feel it's necessary to talk about the stats for these fruits really quick. So these are the three fruits: the Blaze Squash, the Vitali Pear, and the Zephyr Berry. These are used to level up those stats you see at the bottom of the Dragopedia pages when you look at a dragon: damage, health, and agility. Now these stats max out at 10, so you need 30 emeralds to max out one dragon. The healing and the speed stats are the most noticeable after being leveled. For example, this Seer Claw is level 0. No stats increase whatsoever. It's got 14 crowns, and it's pretty average speed. But now let's take a look at a max dragon. This is Zephyr. This was the first Nightlight I found after the update, so of course I had to max it out immediately. I got it to level 10 in all categories. Now as you can see, it's got 40 crowns, and it is significantly faster. So much so that I'm traveling faster than the world has time to render in. I would definitely recommend leveling up these dragons as much as you can. Now, if you have some render issues depending on what platform you're playing on, maybe don't max out the agility to 10 because you're just going to be flying over nothing because the ground can't keep up with you. Now on to some of the bigger changes that came with the original update. Firstly, in the paid version of the game, weapon damages were tuned. They scale based on how rare the associated dragon is. So for example, the Ace Sword, being a fairly common spawn and pretty easy to find, the dragon and its weapon damage stay at +5. But then you look at something much more rare, like the Warden Dragon, and its sword was buffed to a +10. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wolf, these numbers kind of suck. Listen, I don't make the rules. I'm just reporting on them. And besides, that +10 to the Warden Sword? Chef kiss. Cherry on top to an already fantastic weapon. My personal weapon of choice, because that lifesteal, it's just too good. Some other notable changes are the textures to some of the dragons, some more than others. As you can see, the saddle texture was added to the back of the dragons. This will allow you to see who's got a saddle on and who doesn't. And some of the geomapping or models were changed to adjust the first-person flight and dramatically improve camera angles. This was mainly on the larger headed or longer necked dragons like the Seer Claw, the Tidewing, the Magnus, the Nightlight, and the other similar models. But as you can see from this comparison video, the flying animation and the shape of the dragons has changed, making it way easier to see while flying. Now, one of the coolest things they added with this newest update is a chance to get a shiny variant. Now, all you Pokemon fans are probably freaking out, but it's not 100% what you think. These new shiny variants are a 4% chance to spawn when hatched from an egg. It's like a 1 out of 25 chance. They cannot be found in the wild, only hatched. This is a new texture that simply just gives the enchanted animation overlay, which kind of flashes colors back and forth. Currently though, it is exactly like Pokemon in the fact that it is purely cosmetic. But man, does it look cool. And many people have asked and talked about why they don't just make real shiny variants like different colors and things. And as fun as that sounds, Minecraft kind of sucks when it comes to this option. These add-ons are capped at 25 megabytes each. And Minecraft itself is capped at 4,000 textures. Well, vanilla Minecraft uses 2,000 of those textures. Currently, if the devs were to add actual shiny variants for each one of these dragons, currently there's only 29, but there's almost 50 of them that they're planning to add, it would take up a crazy amount of storage and texture space that it would cause way too many issues. So unfortunately for now, this is the best we got, which in my opinion is still pretty dope. I mean, a 4% chance is still pretty low. I had to use creative to spawn in all these eggs just for the purpose of this video. Okay, on to some known issues and future fixes. Now, there's still plenty of issues with this add-on, don't get me wrong. While the base mechanics have been fixed, there's still a lot of things that are being worked on. Dragon spawn rates are still ridiculously out of control. A future patch will address the vendor dragons being able to drown or despawn in some way, which will significantly cut down on the item buildup. Storm Stratus armor does not apply the double jump while wearing the full set, it only grants feather falling. Vendor dragons can be bred together even when they're not tamed. If you kill off the vendor or the dragon is separated from its vendor and there are multiples nearby, you can breed them together. This is not working as intended and will be fixed on a future patch. Okay, last but not least, I'm going to let you guys in on a little sneak peek that was shown for the next content update for this add-on. The devs have been working on some new block types for using those extra scales that we've collected. And another feature that they're working on, they're waiting on some restrictions to be lifted before adding, is a secondary dragon attack, like a melee or a bite attack, giving us something to use for those enemies that come close up. I think that's going to be a really nice addition once that fully gets added. Right now, there's still a lot of restrictions in the dev kit for these add-ons. These are still very, very new. They're only about a month, maybe a month and a half old. Once these things get fully fleshed out, I think they're going to be really great. Also, while this hotfix has been delayed, they've been working on porting over all of the other 50 dragons that they've made throughout the Dragonfire series and upgraded them to the newest system. So I'm pretty excited to see which ones they choose to add in next. But for today, guys, that's all I have for you on the latest Dragonfire update. I know this past week's been kind of rough not being able to fly, but it's all fixed now. And if you made it to the end, drop a comment saying shiny. Let me know if you've been able to hatch one for yourself. If you found this video helpful or entertaining in any way, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell next to it to stay up to date with all my latest content. My Discord is linked down below, so if you guys want to come chat, I'm active almost every single day and would love to see what kind of builds and worlds that you've been able to create for your dragons. But that's all from me for now. Wolf, out!